As High Representative for Bosnia and Herzegovina, it is my mandate to oversee the implementation of the General Framework Agreement for Peace. This is my responsibility, and this is what I report on to the United Nations Security General and the Security Council. The Security Council has repeatedly reiterated its support for my office, most prominently in its resolutions 1031 and 1144. With that said, I look forward to the Security Council's semi-annual debate later this month. I have already submitted, next month to be correct, I have already submitted my report, the overall 65th on Bosnia and Herzegovina, in anticipation of the debate. At the time, it will be an honor for me to brief this distinguished body comprehensively on developments and, more importantly, trends over the last 6 months. In addition to my forthcoming address, the topic of today's extraordinary meeting requires supplementary interventions from my side. I appreciate the opportunity to present my assessment shortly. Unfortunately, the letter of Honorable Madam Sivanovic, which we could read, does not follow the principle of dedication to the facts and a correct reading of the legal fundamentals of Bosnia-Herzegovina. And you may understand that I am not prepared to answer about some words which I would categorize as insultation, which we heard now. This is not the place to talk in such a way one about the other. This is a place where one has to talk one with the other. So I call to more precision and accuracy. So far, I can unfortunately see only bad intended misinterpretation. Let me stress that respect to the Dayton Peace Agreement includes that my position that I have to be, and I am, the guarantor of the existence of the entities which are constitutional part of the international subject of law state of Bosnia-Herzegovina. These are the Federation of Bosnia-Herzegovina and Republika Srpska and the condominium Brčko along the agreements of the GFAP, and nobody has any intention to dissolve any of these parts. So, Madam Sivanovic, I do not know the professor you referred to, but we agree that he is absolutely wrong. Republika Srpska is an integrated part of Bosnia-Herzegovina. Distinguished members of the United Nations Security Council, are there threats to the peace agreement? Yes. The President and other officials of the Republika Srpska entity frequently assault Dayton through continuous inflammatory rhetoric about the dissolution of the state. The separation of Republika Srpska from the Federation of BiH, or secession, or however it is called. The president of the RSN entity, Milorad Dodik, recently publicly declared that, quote, Bosniaks can have 25% of the territory, the rest does not belong to them, end of quote, which some saw as a call for ethnic cleansing. Maybe this is the place where we can talk about an understanding of colonialism. At a minimum, it is fundamentally anti-Dayton and unconstitutional, and a rejection of the promise of the peace agreement for a multi-ethnic society with a state and 2 entities. Are there challenges for the territorial integrity, sovereignty, and functionality of Bosnia-Herzegovina? Yes. Only one example. Madam Sivanovic, she introduced herself as one of the 3 members of the presidency of BiH, elected member, joined in September 23 provocative calls to protest and block the administrative inter-entity boundary line, which is the boundary line between the two entities due to the Dayton Peace Agreement, in an attempt to fabricate an international border where none exists, which runs directly counter to the Dayton Peace Agreement. I called her to order. By extension, are there threats to peace and stability in Bosnia-Herzegovina? Regrettably, there are conscious attempts to endanger peace and stability, but EUFOR and the High Representative, as both Dayton institutions, agree in the assessment on stability. According to EUFOR's official assessment, is that the security situation has steadily stabilized in military terms, but challenges arise from political tensions between the stakeholders in the country. I see these tensions as stoked by the rhetoric and actions of representatives of the RS entity. We could get some taste of it just some minutes ago. Fortunately, so far those dangers have not translated into violence. I have to inform you, aside this, that violence against returnees of all ethnic origin has happened several times. We observe this with concern. As High Representative, it is my assessment that Bosnia and Herzegovina can slip into serious political instability. But this can be prevented by coming back to fulfill the requirement of Dayton, especially in a time that European Union offers the way to European integration. It is also my assessment that this is first and foremost a consequence of rhetoric and actions by the Republika Srpska political and institutional leadership to subvert the peace agreement. I see instead of this a possibility to go this way together, and have found a lot of examples, if I may inform you as well, voices coming out of Republika Srpska. The warnings of escalation presented to us today are misleading. Those who themselves are driving the escalation should stand off such judgments. We see a systematical usurpation of the constitutional, legal, and institutional framework of the state, undermine the functionality of its institutions, and disrobing the state of its sovereignty. This is the key challenge which we should try to start in a legislation, if necessary, and requested by the Constitution of the Dayton GFAP Annex 4, if there are necessities to fulfill the lacks of the respect to everybody, that as well the basic equal rights for everybody and every group are guaranteed. The guardians of the peace agreement and the constitutional legal order are particularly targeted in these days. Equally inconsistent with the peace agreement is the rhetoric. So I would come to the challenge of historical revisionism, denial of genocide and other war crimes, glorification of war criminals, and persistent advocacy of dissolution of BiH, which has created a divisive environment. I have had the occasion to implement, after long years of non-activity of the responsible parliamentary bodies, implementing the proposals of OSCE and ODIHR about integrity of election, added as well that in continuation of the Dayton Peace Agreement, no convicted and sentenced war criminal, be it because sentenced of genocide, crimes against humanity, or war crimes, should run for any public position, because we see and announced this at my last meeting. I had the possibility to brief you at the Security Council because the society, I think, would be negatively affected. Distinguished members of the Security Council, the security situation in Bosnia and Herzegovina is stable, but as we see, fragile. Fortunately, there has so far been no response to provocations. The High Representative and EUFOR Althea remain the indispensable instruments of peace. Yes, they will have to see when the way to European integration has come in a final stage at last, that there has to be revisiting of the Dayton rules. But so far, they must be supported and strengthened, not least to provide a strong message of reassurance and confidence to the people of Bosnia-Herzegovina. Bosnia-Herzegovina is striving for European Union accession. This is a good way to a promising future for the country. This can only be done on the basis of the Dayton Peace Agreement and the commitment to the sovereignty, territorial integrity, multi-ethnic character of its promises. There is a long and bumpy road ahead. Only through the peace agreement has the country progressed to this point. So the peace agreement is the indispensable foundation of a peaceful future in Bosnia-Herzegovina and the region, and it was so far successful. It was an end of the war, an end of the suffering, and so we feel that we should give all our dedication that this continues. I take the opportunity to remind all political actors of their obligation to fully comply with the peace agreement and their treaty obligations to cooperate with my office. Confidence of all citizens in stability, democracy, integrity, and a peaceful future for them and the next generation is paramount. Such letters as the one we had to take note from Madame Sivanovic do not serve the solemn duty of all those staying in responsible position for the well-being of the country. Just the opposite. We have to address those people not sitting in your meeting room, not sitting and talking today, but those who have challenges, see challenges to their confidence about the future of Bosnia-Herzegovina. This is what we all together should answer in a positive and constructive way. Thank you very much.